T.
Miss T. Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Can't wait for you to meet Miss T. She is the T in T.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Okay, so I got something really amazing to share with you. Have you ever been frustrated? Okay, so there's a reason to be frustrated, but I want to explain a difference. So frustration versus being challenged, it's very different. So if you're feeling frustration, pay attention, get all the way through this. This is technically going to be 2 parts. So you want to definitely absorb what happens in part 1, but make sure you watch part 2 also, because I'm going to take you somewhere. So first things first, frustration. I find that most often, especially when I'm working with clients, when they get frustrated, it's very difficult to move them forward. So one thing I want you to think about is frustration will anchor you. Now, frustration and challenge are 2 different things, and they both serve a purpose. Both are indicators, and both should cause you to have a response, a strategic response. But when you are frustrated, remember, you will stay right where you're at. So I want to give you some steps, some technique, some understanding. So hopefully the next time you feel frustrated in a situation, number 1, you will stop. Number 2, you will examine. And number 3, you will get the understanding of why you're there. And then you will attack that thing so you can move forward in whatever your goal is, whatever the experience is. So again, frustration anchors you. One of the things you have to pay attention to when you're in a frustrating moment is that there's something about the moment. There's something about the experience. There's something about the season you're in or the process you're in that no longer works for you. So what you're doing is you're trying to continue to do something that you've outgrown. You're trying to continue to be in a relationship that no longer fits. You're even forcing yourself to stay in a job maybe that no longer works for your life or your lifestyle. So frustration is an indicator, but if you don't deal with it, if you don't look at it, it will cause you to cement in a time, a place, a relationship, an experience, or a season that you are no longer qualified to be in. So when you feel frustrated, stop. You want to know what? That's one of the hardest people for most people I know to do is just stop. You see, I had to pause there. That little pause was a little uncomfortable for me because I'm a go-getter. One of the things that I don't do often is stop. Maybe when I sleep at night, but I'm go. Most of the people you know, the world we live in, everybody is go, but not when you feel frustration. You want to stop. The second thing you want to do is examine the situation. So you may be on a path that you're no longer qualified to be on. Let's say, for instance, you're going to a college, but you're fighting to get into this one and it's getting really frustrating for you. Maybe that's the wrong path to the wrong college because it's in the wrong city that has the wrong people that won't support you in your growth process. So pay attention. The third thing you want to do is, why does this frustrate me? You know, you can actually ask yourself questions. Most people never ask themselves a question. In fact, they ask other people questions about them. You ask yourself this question: why is this frustrating me this way? Why am I showing up on this campus or this job and I get frustrated? And here's what you want to also look at. How quickly are you getting frustrated? I know that there are some relationships that I can get engaged in with people, and I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to help them grow. I'm trying to guide them. I'm trying to mentor them, but they just won't listen. So one of the things that shows me when a season is shifted in a relationship is I will get frustrated quickly, especially in the process of trying to help somebody grow. But that's most often because they've grown as far as they can grow, and now I'm forcing them to grow in a way that they don't want to grow. So I get frustrated. When I quickly get frustrated, I have a response. I have strategy so that I'm not sitting in this moment of frustration with this person who doesn't want to grow, because that just ruins the relationship. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be around a person who's just bullying them to be better. That's kind of what I do sometimes. I don't recommend it. But no one wants to be around that person, especially when they've They've maxed out their capacity. So I know when I start to get frustrated, especially quickly frustrated, that I have to stop, examine the situation. Okay, is this person gone as far as they go? Or have I gone as far as I can go with this person? And then what's my strategy? I used to be on, like, when my daughters were teenagers and they would start getting, attitude, and I would tell them to do something. I'm quickly, you want me to get frustrated? Give me a teenage girl that live in a house that don't listen, and then you want them to clean up something or do their homework and stuff like that, and they bucking back and not doing the stuff. That's quick frustration. So I had to develop a strategy before my frustration ruined a relationship. And so one of the things I would do is I would, number one, stop. Number two, walk away. And if you're anything like me and you're a fighter, one of the hardest things to do is walk away from a fight. Oh, we're going to fight. We're going to fight. And it's going to be blood and tears. And I'm going to win because I'm scrappy. And we going to fight. But my response to when I'm frustrated so that I'm not wrecking a relationship is walk away. Because there's something about the individuals in the relationship where one of us has hit a capacity wall. And so because I want to be protective and I do want the relationship, one of my responses is walk away. Another thing that I try, especially when I'm in, a phase in my career growth and I get frustrated, I recognize that, okay, either I'm graduating out of a career season and promoting into another season, or I've stalled somewhere in the career growth process. And so I get frustrated with the things around me and I get agitated with things around me because the growth in career has either stopped or it's accelerated in a way that I don't know that I can stretch fast enough and hard enough to be able to stay in. And so one of the things I do when I feel frustration in my career, my growth, or just my personal growth is I give myself permission to pause. And so when I'm getting to a place of frustration, I'm learning that, sometimes I've reached my capacity as one human being to do the depth and the breadth of what I do. Interviewing, mentoring, public speaking, traveling, the level of travel that I do with who I am and what I've built and who I've become is pretty intense. I spend more time in airplanes, those are my offices sometimes, than I do in my own vehicle. I like to drive my cars sometimes. But I'm sharing all of that so that you understand how someone can get to a point of exhausting their individual capacity in their career area so that you can get frustrated. And so I pause. And that's a new thing. I'm not even going to, sugarcoat that or pretend like I got that perfected because I don't. That's a new thing. I'm still learning how to pause. In fact, just this past week, I couldn't get myself to get out of the house. And again, normally go here, go do this, do that. But I'm in my sweats. I put on my, one of my favorite cardigans, and then I sit down and I'm Netflixing a show that I don't even know that I even like, but it has 9 seasons, and I knew that it wouldn't end, and I could just kind of sit there and just kind of zone out a little bit. And I kind of felt a little guilty about that. But when in hindsight, I knew that physically my body needed that moment. Because again, I was in 4 days, I was in 3 different cities in 2 different states, flying and doing stuff and all that stuff. So my body needed that pause. But before I took the pause, I was very frustrated with a number of different things. And so again, my response is pause and then examine. Why are you frustrated about flying here and doing this deck and building this program and et cetera, et cetera? Well, I'm frustrated because I know that T, the person, has reached her capacity to develop, evolve, expand. And if I don't give her permission to breathe for a second so she can collect her thoughts, document the new game plan, get the help that she needs to support her, and then hit the ground running with the written plan and the team that's been prepared and trained, if I don't give her the pause she needs to do that, she's going to run herself into the wall. And frustration is the indicator that pause. Give this your attention. And then one of the other things that come out of frustration that you're going to have to learn how to apologize to people for is you can be very irritable in a way that causes you to be unkind and unpleasant to be around. So I'm giving you the major symptom of frustration. I'm giving you why frustration is important for you to pay attention to and how it shows up in different situations and circumstances. But I'm also giving you some recovery work that you're going to have to do, because sometimes you do things and you say things when you're frustrated that you really don't mean. And so you want to make sure that you're aware enough that you're putting these, steps in place, because now you're doing some protective work for the relationships that you really care about, for the career that you really want to be healthy and successful, and for your direction and your pathway in life. So again, we're still talking about frustration, but I'm showing you some peripheral things that come out of you not checking it when it happens. Another thing is, I think sometimes people confuse frustration with the challenges you need that cause you to grow. So let's take the example of riding a bike. I have grandchildren and they're amazing. I love my ladybugs. And right now they're both in this phase where they want to ride the bikes, but for whatever reason, the training wheels is not what they need in life. They don't like them, they don't want them, and it's suggestive of something to them. If I have training wheels, I'm not a big girl, so take the training wheels off. But they're learning how to ride the bike, how to balance on the bike, how to turn on the bike, how to stop on the bike. Because now that you have a bike that don't have the kind of bikes that don't have training wheels, well, the brakes is not in the pedal system. The brakes is in the hand brakes. And so now they're learning all these new things as a result of them changing and growing in how they're navigating on their bicycles. And so what's happening is they're getting frustrated. And so I'm watching them get frustrated, and then I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting frustrated trying to teach them how to ride the bike while they're mad at me because I'm trying to help them stay on the bike and not skin their knees. And so one of the things I want to point out is frustration versus challenge. My grandbabies needed to fall. They needed to scrape their knee. They needed to scrape their elbow. Why? Because that challenge will teach them how to not fall off the bike, how to learn how to balance. So sometimes I think people will experience frustration and they don't give themselves permission to recognize, is it frustration? Is this something I need to pause? And then they'll just stop. And that's what I mean when I say frustration will cause you to anchor in a time, a place, a season, a job, an opportunity, a relationship where you're not supposed to be anymore. So you want to be able to distinguish the difference between frustration and healthy challenge that causes you to grow, even though you might bump your head, scrape your knee, or scrape your elbow. You need this challenge because it's going to make you grow. And so again, if I could rewind a little bit with all the travel stuff, all the stuff I'm doing, severe challenge. You got to expand another thing. You got to build another building in another city. And, I could get frustrated with that because it's a lot. It's a lot of demand on a human being. But I receive that as a challenge, because if I take that on as a challenge and I hit it and I work at it and I get the help I need, the consulting and mentoring I need, the resources I need, that challenge will cause my organization to grow. But it'll not only cause my organization to grow, it'll cause me, the leader, to grow. So you want to recognize, okay, again, that whole pause, and then ask yourself a question. You should be so curious with yourself all the time. Ask yourself the question, is this me getting frustrated, or is this a challenge that's going to make me grow so everything around me blossoms and grows? And really, truly, you're the only one that can come to that kind of conclusion in whatever experience that you're going through, because it's you and you're in it, and sometimes the stuff, the challenge or the thing is in you that you got to deal with. And so just stopping and recognizing frustration, which will anchor you because that's an emotional response. Challenge, which will cause you to think different, be different, show up different, help different, evolve different, learn different, educate different, express different. So you want the challenge. What you don't want is frustration. Now, I have a lot more to share on this, especially as it pertains to peace being your umpire. Even if you're in the thick of a challenge, you can still have peace. When you're frustrated, most often you don't have peace. And there's some other more detrimental emotional responses that are attached to that, like anger. That frustration is a very huge door opener for something like anger. And I tell you what, I've watched people kill people because they were overcome with anger, but it started because they got frustrated in a relationship that they were no longer supposed to be in. So I want to get into that on part 2, but part 1, your homework is, number 1, when you feel it, when you sense it, when you see it, stop. When you're feeling frustration, you're experiencing frustration, just stop. Examine. Ask yourself the question, why is a great question to ask yourself on a regular basis. Why am I doing this? Why am I feeling this? Why am I going there? Why am I staying in this and I know it's not good for me? Why? And once you can get to the bottom of the why in you, and if you need help, I'm one of those people that if I can't get clear with myself, I get help. You know, like I'm seeing this, I'm sensing this, I don't like this, I don't have the answer. I'm asking myself, I'm not coming to a conclusion. What do you sense and see? And ask somebody that's, that has some education that can help you or some experience that can help you. Don't ask your cousin Pookie that has no clue why he's showing up in life the way he is. That don't help. But ask someone that has the ability to guide you. And that's only if you're not getting to it. But again, these are symptoms that are designed to cause you to study you so that you can show up in life, show up in other people's lives, stronger, smarter, faster, better. And that's what this podcast is all about. That's what your life and your lifestyle should be about. You should be evolving, adjusting, and repairing every day so that you keep showing up as the best possible you that you can. So I hope this one helped. Or if you're watching this one, remember there's a part 2. And if hopefully, you're not one of those people that skip right to part 2, that you'll watch part 1. Every one of them is good. But I'm asking you, if this helped you, get started with your evaluation of frustration. I want you to share it, like it, leave a comment. And if you're frustrated with this video, leave a comment and tell me you're frustrated. Let's work through it. But the goal is that you're growing and you're helping others grow by liking, sharing, and subscribing, because I'm not doing this stuff because I have time for it. I just told you my list of everything that I have to do on a daily basis. I'm doing this because I want you to not step on some of the same landmines that I stepped on in my growth process. I want to see you win, baby. That's the bottom line. I'm doing this because I want to see you win. If you want to see other people win, just share this stuff. If it's helping you, it'll help somebody else. I promise you. So thank you for tuning in. Sweet Tea Time. Make sure you tune in for part 2, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.